What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 34 of Destination Talk. I'm John Paz.
And I am Harry, and we are coming to you from Chop Studios located at 750 Route 34 in Matawan, New Jersey. And today we are joined by the head wrestling coach at Colonia High School, Coach Dan Grasso. Coach Grasso is also involved with the football team. Coach, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be back with my guy again.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and being in studio with us. We don't get too many in-studio guests anymore, so it's nice to have someone here. So, Coach, we always like to start off. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself and tell us who you are? And take as long as you need.
Yeah, sure. Background. Who am I? Good question. I'm a son of a head football coach and a great group of parents, if you want to start from the very beginning. I went through, I made my decision to go into education and coaching because I played the sport. I played both sports. I played football and I wrestled, and I knew I could do something in that line of work, and I really do. I came back to coach football initially, and it just one of my old wrestling coach comes up to me and says, "Hey, listen, I have a wrestling opportunity for you if you want to coach wrestling." I was like, I just finished playing college football. I want to see where that goes, and he goes, "Just try it out." Just kind of like it's essentially kind of the same way that I got into wrestling. He was like, "Hey, just try it out and see how it goes." And 25 years later,
you're still trying it out.
25, yeah. Oh my God! I just said the number 25, and it's crazy.
Where'd you go to school to play college football?
I went to American International, and I had 4 good seasons there. We won a couple conference titles. I played middle linebacker. I was on the kickoff team, the old wedge breaker.
Right.
There's a reason they don't do that stuff anymore.
They've changed the rules quite a bit.
Yeah. So what originally drew you to wrestling that made you come back for the second year or, stay with it and then want to come back into coaching it?
The funny part is the guy who recruited me, Coach Sal, who recruited me into wrestling, retired. And I was going to, gracefully bow out with him. And the senior class actually was coming to me like at work while we were teaching and said, we'd really like you to stay on and coach. Mm-hmm. The next thing I know, the principal's up in my room. He says, "Listen, I wasn't married yet. I was none of that." And then he goes, "Hey, just try it out and see how it goes." It was like, just try it out and see how it goes. And I fell in love with it. And I love the aspects of it that I love is like, initially, like we had a rec program that went to 3 different schools, and we would get the kids that lived in Colonia, the kids that lived in Avenel, and I'd like taking kids out of the hallway, taking football kids out of the hallway, and say, "Hey, same thing that happened to me. Try this out, see if you like it," and like getting kids that they have 500 records and they get better and better and better, and I like watching, I like helping kids like improve day by day,
right.
And like you could see, and like it's not like coaching guys like him where you come in with the background and ready to go and like level up from there. It's coming in with kids that are good athletes, don't really know how to wrestle, and then moving forward and forward. That's what I really enjoyed about it.
So wrestling is one of those interesting sports in that it's an individual sport within a team concept.
Sure.
So how do you balance that as a coach?
It's funny that you say that because the guy sitting to my right is a prime example of, in that sport, like it is a team sport. You need to put together a lineup that can beat other teams' lineup and stuff like that. But like when John started wrestling for us, it's an automatic. Like his jiu-jitsu background, I didn't realize that he only had wrestled like 2 years before that.
Yeah, probably just getting into in middle school is when I kind of really started getting into it more. Yeah,
but like automatic, like him coming in being the hammer that he was, it's like it's part of like coaching wrestling where where the hammers are in the lineup, mm-hmm. and other coaches also know. We got this kid Poznansky. We gotta either put our kid that's good against the next guy or try our luck against John.
Right.
And like when he came in as a freshman, we would take things take things out of his game, add things to his game. But I had a great relationship with his club.
Right.
Donnie.
Donnie.
With Donnie and Shane and all those guys. And we would discuss it. Like a lot of relationships between and we have discussed this at length.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of relationships between clubs and like high school wrestling, they don't agree all the time.
Right. I
wanted to make it about him. Okay, so and other guys who would go to club, I would talk to their coaches, but me and Donnie communicated a lot on, hey, listen, this is what we're doing today. Maybe do something. Maybe not do that when he goes to club tonight. Or, hey, he's gonna go live with Shane tonight. And that really was what I think separated us from other people. Because I would hear kids complaining about I got to go to club tonight and I got to do this, this, and this, when we already wrestled live for an hour.
Right.
It's about individual, and that's what wrestling is. Like you said, it's individual guys, but each individual kid has a way that maybe this kid doesn't run miles and miles. Maybe we condition him live. Maybe this kid needs to run because he can't make weight, or
I can tell you he doesn't like to run, so he was definitely a live guy, not a runner.
He has stories.
We'll keep it as positive as possible.
Try getting his footwork to improve. It was like we're working with a lug
were
nut.
A godsend. His feet were so slow. And
Oh, here we go.
He was like working with a wrench. Let me tell you.
We'll get ripped apart right now. I know.
Yeah, you should have invited me here. I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, your mom said our previous episode was a comedy show, so we're trying to just keep it that way.
Yeah.
His mom. I could do an hour on that.
Oh boy.
A great lady.
We love you, Angie.
A great lady from my heart.
But that goes right back to, balancing with your club coaches, with the parents, with the coaches in high school, being able to put all that together, it would make something great,
But the problem is unfortunately, we could say all these things, and we're on, you're on a podcast right now, and you could say all this stuff, but ego gets involved.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. I do think, and I have seen that with coaches in certain sports, that whatever it might be, they are fearful that you're going to supersede what they've been doing. And the message that I tell coaches all the time is, listen, here's the deal. I don't know anything about what you're teaching your kids. My job is to help them get better. If it's footwork, speed, agility, plyometrics, if you're asking me to do some type of strength work, if you're a football coach, you're a football coach. You're a wrestling coach.
Sure.
That's, I know enough now with all these different sports of how the athlete is supposed to move, and my job is to help them to move better. But I'm not about to tell John, when I first met him and knew nothing about wrestling, how he should be wrestling. I would say to him, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And how does that apply to what you do in your sport? And then we would create movements off of that to make people like yourself, your job easier when he got back to you.
Sure.
And that's the approach that I've been taking for many years now. But I do think some coaches, unfortunately, are a little afraid. You mentioned ego. I think that's a good term because they think you're going to supersede them when my job is to make your life easier.
You learn lessons through the amount of time that you coach. A big lesson is my ego's got nothing to do with whether or not a team's going to be good or bad.
Right.
My ego's got nothing to do with whether or not what we wanted to do with that whole thing was make sure we're not wearing them out.
Right.
Because he's built a little bit differently than a lot of kids.
He's a workhorse.
Yeah. And you didn't have to I never had to motivate him to go harder. I had to we had to point him in directions.
Right.
So initially when it was myself and Coach Monaco, his freshman and sophomore year.
Little guy.
I'm not going to say little guy. I love you, Mike.
Is that the coach at Woodbridge now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've met him with the youth wrestling in Clark recently.
Sorry, I had to put that in.
Love. we were going back and forth. The kid had tough times finding partners for him to wrestle.
Right.
So Coach Monaco would wrestle him, and sometimes I'd get in there and wrestle him. Not too often. His hand was too big on the back of my bald head.
I can attest to that. He clobbered me with a right forearm in one of our training sessions that I'm still feeling today.
Yeah.
We're doing the wax on, wax off drill.
And like we did the best we could, and then like I would talk to Yale Street, and it's like, hey, listen, he went for a little while. Maybe some more time with Shane, like live would help, like because we could drill him all day,
Right.
but like he needs like live time with like talent and. Sometimes a better, like somebody better, not better than him, but somebody that can compete with him. And like the hiring of Coach Messner was huge.
Oh yeah.
And he came in with a great attitude. He knew exactly what we wanted to do. And he pointed and you going to Yale and wrestling with Shane, and then you wrestling with Coach Messner at our place, like it was a win-win.
Oh yeah, no, between both partners and constantly getting better every single day brought me to the run we had. So
but that's the funny part. Like getting close to like his middle and the end of his senior year, he's like starting to actually compete with these guys. And he's like Shane and Coach Messer are big time wrestlers. Like, and this is a high school kid, and like they're coming off, and like I'm watching these guys like ice up, and I go. Guys, I get it, but like, my wife will not allow me to wrestle John anymore. I'm having Chevy to get me out of the bed in the morning.
Well, we met in January of 2020, which was his senior year, and and that's when our journey together started. We were brought together by a mutual friend that I'm sure you know who he is as well, and we like to have fun with him. But but it was a great union between us, and it obviously continued, and then. Fortunately for all of you guys at that time was the state finals was that Saturday right before the world shut down. So thankfully we got it in because it would have been heartbreaking at that moment.
God.
Because thank God.
Thank God.
Imagine.
Well, because you talk
We
about
say that all the time.
but
Yeah.
you talk about progress, but he's a great example of that. His progress. Correct me if I'm wrong, but high school sophomore year you were third, junior year you were second, and then your senior year you finally got to the top of the podium. And it would have been horrible for you if it had just not gotten to that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that week later, I was supposed to go wrestle
You were supposed to
at
go to Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, Dapper Dan. That was my
supposed to go to
last day of high school ever.
We needed 5 more days. We were packed.
I was getting on the plane that day.
Yeah, I remember that because remember you telling me you were getting ready to go out.
Yeah, I left
Needed
school
5
early.
More days.
I left school early.
Listen,
But-
number 1 in America, we would have been. I say we, but like it's not we, but hey, kind of is.
Yeah, yeah.
But you got it in, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, no parade though.
All right.
So, Coach, can you talk a little about what your coaching philosophy is, not just in wrestling, but in football as well? What you kind of look for there?
You know what's funny about that is that I keep watching, and my daughters tell me that I watch like too many reels on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of my feed in the reels is like Coach Nick Saban say, hey, listen, you're coaching kids, okay? They're from ages, essentially I'm coaching high school. I'm coaching kids from age like 14 to 18. They, there's more to life than that just one sport that they're playing. But while they're here, like I want your full attention.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to respect the sport and respect my time and my assistant's time, or when I'm an assistant, respect our time while you're there. And if you do that, it's like the rest of it just falls into place.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't, that's when the bad side of coaching comes out. And I tried my hardest to not let blah blah blah. You can't, especially in this day and age. Like you can't you curse out a kid, you get fired.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's times like the kid's just walking through it. Like you're a teenager. Like you got legs for days. Like I shouldn't have to drag this out of you every day.
Yeah.
So I'd say my coaching philosophy is try to be the best human I can while I'm spending time with these kids. Try to be what you hope that their parents, even bring up parents, but like try to be what you hope their parents think is going on there, and get better. Like I said earlier, just try to get better every day. Just that would be my coaching philosophy. I'd say be better than we were yesterday. I mean, I said that to you.
Yeah, too many times.
Countless. Hey, listen, we're not good at this right now. Let's get a little bit better at that tomorrow. And what flashes in my head immediately is, why aren't we using that tight waist?
Yeah.
I mean, every coach you ever listen. Your arm is so long, and that freaking catcher's mitt you got. Why are we not using that tight waist? They shouldn't be able to breathe under there. No, you wouldn't do it. Let them up, take them down. But
It's a great example.
John was a very workmanlike wrestler.
Yeah.
He drove us all nuts watching him. But he was very
then.
blue collar and just.
it
did what
was
he had to
funny,
do.
yeah. But it was funny when his senior year he's talking about, well, I got this new guy. He's a speed coach. I go, so he's gonna get your feet like to move, and he's like, yeah. I go, see him as much as possible.
He did. We saw each other 3 times a week.
Yeah.
We definitely saw each other 3 times a
We're
week.
talking about like going into his state tournament his senior year. My family like was concerned about me. They go, what? Like John's undefeated. Like he's
Right.
And I go, guys, I just gotta get him there healthy.
Right.
And we had a situation his freshman year. We went and trained with Woodbridge. He like turned his knee the wrong way. He completely flipped out. I talked him off the ledge. And I got him back in there, and we got went back to work. And like we had a situation his junior year where we knocked into somebody, and I go, and like we'd be working out, like we'd have workouts at Yale Street, and we'd let like Shane in, we'd let Coach Mess in this little space with John, and other people were like, hey, Coach, can we work out? No. You can work out with John. You can work out with John next week.
Yeah.
This week he's going to work out with guys that aren't going to shoot wrong on his leg, that aren't going to do things that high school kids would do.
Well, my first wrestling match was the finals.
Wow.
That was my first ever wrestling
first match to come watch.
And it was. And I didn't know the scoring. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew he kept getting on top of his opponent. I figured that had to be good. I didn't realize he was up by 20 points at that. And like I'm at the top of the stadium. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And then they raised his hand. And I'm like, he won. Great. I exhaled.
What's funny about that final was he tilted that kid 3 or 4 times.
Tight waist tilt. Tight waist tilt.
Tight waist tilt, which I was talking about.
Hey, better late than never.
Messer was like, you got to use. He goes, that kid's wide open for a tilt. I mean, half of that video is that kid. Half of that video is that kid looking up.
Poor kid. So, you've been in the sport a long time. How have you seen it evolve, say, from the beginning to where you find it now?
Well, the funny part about especially high school wrestling is now, especially with the 3 points for a takedown, and it's getting closer to what college wrestling is like, where they don't want kids like getting to the edge of the mat and like stop wrestling.
Right.
They want, which is a good thing. But with that, like there's sometimes like you could get more of stalling calls than you would normally get. The amount of rule changes and things that go on in wrestling, the changes are for good. So like when you hear like when an official comes in and reports to the GMC or whatever, and it's like, hey, listen, this is where the rule changes are going to be. You got to pay attention because it's the first thing that they're going to look for.
Right.
Like any new rule that they're going to make, it's the first thing they're going to look for when you're in a dual meet tournament, something like that. So you want to bring it to the room and enforce it and be like, listen, this is what they're looking for. Try not to do that. And like, they want more aggressive wrestling and not like passive. The problem with that is when you're teaching a kid how to wrestle, sometimes you don't want him diving in there and going for fast points and like working at you're working at just the basics of, listen, he's got a setup and a takedown. Let's just do that, and you focus on everything else. Everything else will get handled as it gets handled. But I feel like every year there's been like 1 or 2 new rules added. Some of them I like, some of them I don't. But it's not it's not my
right.
Like they could care less what my opinion is. I don't blame them. Like,
do you have a preference to the dual meet, say, versus a try or a quad meet? And I ask that question because when you get into the tournament style at the end, you are wrestling multiple times in a day. And I do think that if you are a program that's strictly based off of just dual meets, your wrestlers don't get that experience of having to compete multiple times in a day.
there's pros and cons to anything. Like, a lot of times, like, say for instance, like I can get a dual meet on a Friday night and we can get a good turnout and it turn the lights off, shine a light on the thing. Like, It's a good experience. Like, more students could come, and it's a good experience for these kids to wrestle with, like, a lot more eyes on them.
Right.
Figure out how to kind of block out the noise and focus on what you're gonna do. Tri meets and quads are great, but at the end of it, like, let's say, so for instance, like, we used to wrestle Kennedy and Woodbridge in a tri meet, but they, like, at the same time, they're both in our division. So if I get a kid hurt, and say I'm wrestling Kennedy first, the kid gets hurt, and then now I can't use him for Woodbridge, where if it was a dual meet, I would have time to decide, hey, I'm going to take this kid out of the line and put it back in, or give him time to heal, and then he could move on to wrestle that kid. It's a lot packed in. If you're a strong team and you could figure it out, and you're a little bit deep, like where you have like one or two kids at a weight or whatever, then tries and quads are fine. If you're not deep at all and like you're 135, that's our 135, and that kid gets hurt, now you're losing points on the other end. If you're worried about your record, then tries and quads aren't like the greatest. If you're like every match is this, then sometimes duels are like, that's why I said there's pros and cons both ways.
Sure.
But you do the best, like it's like anything in wrestling, you do the best with what's available.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And who's like, you do the best with what's available and who's on weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You bring up Woodbridge. One thing that still I remember every single day, we never beat Woodbridge as a team in my 4 years. That's one thing I wanted.
You never beat Woodbridge as a team.
I know, me, yeah. My 4 years, we never beat Woodbridge as a team.
Well, look at, so we
came close twice.
We covered that earlier. Look at Woodbridge's game plan.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Avoid the monster in the middle of the lineup.
But yeah, that's one thing I wanted, like when I was in high school. That always want to be Woodbridge.
Well, you want to beat your rival. I mean, I think that's normal.
When his buddy, he's called him a little guy, became the head coach of Woodbridge, it's different. It's a different feeling. Like Manak's family, Manak's my brother.
Right.
You know what I mean? Guys, like I coached him. Like I talked him into wrestling when he was in high school. Like he's that like my guy. Still I talk to him once a week. And he became the head coach of Woodbridge, and I go, how could you do it?
Go to the other side.
I go, you're taking all the motivation of Colonia Woodbridge out of it, and now I gotta look at you across the mat yelling the stuff that I taught you. Like it's
might have to go see that match this year.
It hurts my heart. It hurts my heart every time I face it.
So the growth of girls wrestling, you have another Poznansky.
Oh, I do have another Poznansky.
So girls
I think
wrestling,
she's better than him, by the way.
Gosh. So girls wrestling is fast growing sport, not just in New Jersey but in the country. How has the growth reflected Colonia High School itself?
So look at it this way. I'm not like, if a girl's interested in wrestling, she can more like, so we're a co-op team. So now, I think, this is new information. I think Woodbridge is co-opted with another team. Mm-hmm. Now it's us and Kennedy. So a co-op team, like I think you can only go with two teams. Mm-hmm. So there's another girls coach. But girls that wrestle for Colonia High School all wrestle in my room. Mm-hmm. So they're getting coached by boys. We try not to wrestle them against boys, but your sister's got to wrestle against boys because this is how it is.
Yep.
She, you ain't gonna like this. She takes coaching a little bit better than you do. I'm sorry. She just does.
I'd
Me and
ask any
Zoe
questions.
have a long relationship. I know Zoe said she's a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't realize this was a roast for you today.
I
by
didn't
the
know
way.
this. Yeah, guys. This was interview Coach Grasso. It's roast John today.
But she will say, you and I, when you were a senior, if I thought something, I'd throw it out there, and you're always very compliant. But like, if you didn't want to do it, you just, didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then we just went a different direction. She takes all advice and works it a little bit before she immediately shuts it down like somebody else at this table.
I want to follow up with that.
Here we go.
No.
We're all in here.
No, it's a legitimate question, and I don't know if you can answer it, but she is very much into the jiu-jitsu world.
Yeah.
She works with Vitor, right, Shaolin?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that discipline might be one of the reasons why she's more open and receptive to the communication?
Yeah. And the fact that, she was raised in a house where this is this and this is that.
Right.
And there's no mix up in between. If you want something, you got to work hard and you got to go
Well,
get
she
it.
had many years to watch. She saw that.
She did, but she's also being raised by the same two parents.
Oh, yeah.
And they're an example that I give to a lot of parents about how, listen, there's good, like he's got stuff written down. He's got goals written down.
He's always talked about that.
Yeah, and you saw it every day. But that doesn't come from nowhere. That
Right.
doesn't, that comes from every day. Hey, listen, this is what we got to do today to get better. Going back to then the coaching motto, like every day we got to get a little bit better. But there's stuff in his game that when he came in when he was in 8th grade, I didn't touch. Like a quarterback who could get the ball up and out fast, you don't mess with that. Like his setup and his duck and his, all the stuff that made John in high school, he had way before I ever met him. He had way before, it was just part of his game.
Right.
You're not supposed to be now you'll like this part. You're not supposed to be as fast and as strong at that age where you're taking on where you're taking on seniors. You're
Right.
taking on seniors and higher level. Like that's what we did when he was a freshman through his senior year. We went out and found the best competition and tried to, win or lose, we're getting better because he's facing the better competition.
You have to compete again. You have to sometimes compete above your head to see where you stand, and then
Zoe's kind of the same way, though. We have to. I have to introduce. It's one of the things I do have to do. I have to introduce more competition to her at that higher level. So when she does eventually make the state tournament again, like it's not. she had a fine state tournament. She wrestled girls who wrestled for a long time. I want her, like, the next time we face anybody, it's a whole... It's the same with you.
It's like we went to the Beast of the East. We went and found competition that was, greater than just in Middlesex County. We went out and found the best guys in the country.
Yeah.
That's a good tournament.
That's a whole other...
That was a fun tournament.
But we could do you could do a podcast about other coaches recruiting him in front of me at the Beast of the East. I mean, the whole tournament. Guys beating us to shake his hand after the match. But I would do the same thing.
right.
Maybe not. I'd probably let him shake his coach's hand first and then. Oh, Messer.
We had fun. We had fun.
Hated that.
Oh, yeah. So, transitioning a little bit, walk us through a typical practice in season, what it looks like, drills, live, conditioning for our viewers here. I mean, I know it's like, but I want to hear from you.
But for your own thing, like it's it's warm up. It's what we're looking at through the season or what we're looking at. So if it's preseason, okay, stuff that when the Messers were coaching with me, a lot of times I'd be sitting on the bench not yelling as much, and sometimes I'd be taking notes. Like, listen, this has to get fixed. This has to get fixed. We got to set up. We got to break kids down all the way before we're trying to turn them. All stuff that So I'll meet with when whether it was my brother who was my assistant or anybody or Manak or Mess, we'd meet before practice and say, listen, we'd be thinking about it like the whole night before, come together and go, okay, I think we should do this, this, and this, and then if somebody has a better idea. please. We go through, warm up, regular practice, warm up, lines, stretch, everything, and then go right into like whatever needs to get fixed that day. But if it's like preseason, it's like you want to work on your setup a little bit more. You want to work on, your takedowns, your short offense, stuff like that. When you watch, like during a season, like when you watch their matches and like go back and like watch them on video, go back and like you'll go individually like, hey, guys, we're going to work on, ducks and setups and whatever. I'll go like, and me or Mess or whoever's in there, we'll go around and say, listen, this is where we think you need a little bit of improvement. Let's work on this today. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Do this. Move to the next guy. Listen, you had a tough time getting off bottom. We're going to work bottom a little bit later. We're going to work getting wrist control, getting out of there. So it sections itself off, and like you don't really want to go. And we used to, situation wrestle all the time.
A lot of situations.
So it's live wrestling, but it like in specific situations where, hey, listen, you're taking a shot and you're getting buried under there. Let's work the situation where you figure it out how figure out how we're going to move on to the next thing. Figure out how you're going to finish that shot. So it's all based on what we need to get better at. Like just section by section. And it usually works itself out.
Working with an individual one-on-one, you get to learn their quirks, their personalities, everything. But as a head coach, you're dealing with
Quirks.
Many.
Yeah.
But not just your athletes, but you also have to manage your coaches. As the varsity coach, you're responsible for if you have a JV and a freshman program as well. So how can you speak to that, how you manage all of that in your program?
Actually, wrestling at Colonia had gotten more popular. Sometimes I can't fit. I could probably fit like 25 guys in my first room. We were spilling over into 40, 45 guys on the team, so then like I had to start another room. So I have guys that come back and volunteer, and like I'll go through, like I'll set up what varsity is going to do. I'll go over to room 2, set up what JV is going to do, and leave coaches in each room. Sometimes, doesn't matter who the coach is. If a coach is better at something than another coach, sometimes I'll flip-flop. It's trying to, and if you're in the second room, it's not. It has nothing to do with like it has to do with, you're not wrestling varsity, you wrestle JV, you're beginner, and things go slower in there. Like, give more time. There's more time to then get quality, like the quality basics in, as opposed to the guys in the main room who have already done that or already know that stuff. It's already ingrained in their head. We got to move forward because you're facing the more, the stricter talent. It's just, you can put everything on paper, but then like something will happen, like somebody will,
right.
Somebody will get hit in the nose, somebody's bleeding, and like you gotta be fast on your feet a little bit.
Somebody needs Casey.
Somebody needs Casey, sure.
So what would you say the toughest part of high school wrestling is for your athletes and for you as a coach as a whole?
The toughest part is getting, sometimes the quality athletes, like there's, the ridiculous, like rumors about like wrestling, like getting through the nonsense of like, well, I don't want to be in a singlet out there. I don't want, blah, blah, blah. You and I both know, like, it's so much different than what, like, a person who doesn't know what wrestling is or like a teenager who doesn't know what wrestling is. It's, it's pushing yourself. And, like, I played football my whole life. When I went into a wrestling practice the first time, I came out of it and I go, what just happened? Like how, like I just came out of football season. Like I feel like I'm in pretty decent shape. I went into this wrestling room and I'm like, I am not.
Yeah, they're two different types of
I am
ready.
not in shape.
Why am I tired?
Yeah. I am not in shape. Why am I laying on the ground in like my own, if they like the UFC has actually helped because they do speak so highly of wrestling, and like all these kids like love UFC.
Right.
They're like, man, maybe I should learn how to wrestle and add that to my game or whatever. It has really helped it out, but they're still like, oh, I don't want to cut weight. Like, you can't even cut weight anymore. These kids, like, there's a hydration program. They're you weigh in, and then like you have to be hydrated when you weigh in, and then it goes into a computer bank, and then like it tells you what weight you can make after that. There's no cutting weight. Like, I cut weight.
Right.
Like, I played football at like 200 pounds and then wrestled 171.
Jeez.
Nobody
I
cut weight.
I couldn't beat the 189. What was I supposed to do?
Lose the weight.
Yeah, cutting weight is starting to become obsolete. I feel like, especially in the high school. I mean, college, you're always going to get it, but there's also a.
You answer this for me. You answer this question.
Okay.
What's the point of cutting weight?
To get to the lowest weight possible where you can compete the best of your abilities.
Right, but strength's involved.
Yes, correct.
Strength's involved. So. Let's go through your senior year with the audience. Coach, I want to wrestle 195. Why do you want to wrestle 195? Because I don't want to do this, and this. You want to wrestle 195. You were sitting that summer at 187.
Yeah.
I've heard this story before in college, though. By the way,
is it what are we talking about?
You say, what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing? We're not doing that. Why would we do that?
No, but yeah, so, and then that comes back to the coaches, your high school coach, your club coaches, and your parents all coming together. And I mean, just not my situation alone, but as a whole, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but your advantage over all these other wrestlers is you would because of how hard you're working out. You'd wake up 4 pounds later, not cutting any water, not cutting any food, and you'd wake up almost on weight.
Yeah, cutting weight is like a science too. There's a right way of doing it and the wrong way of doing it.
Right.
If you do it the right way, it can be very beneficial. Cutting weight gives you more. I feel like it gives you more hunger. It makes you want to I'm gonna go beat that guy because he made me want to.
Right, but if you do it, this guy is hysterical.
Yeah, sorry.
If you do it like you do anything. The right way, paced, and not all in one day. Not all. Listen, I got to get 10 pounds. Then you're going to be useless in the match.
Well, yeah, and I think and I brought up the college thing, and that was something that we would talk about. I wouldn't get into the wrestling side of it, although as I got more familiar with the terminology. But he came to me one summer, and he was like, I don't know, when he was still wrestling 184, and he was like. 2-something, and I looked at him and I was like, "What are you doing?" Yeah. And from my perspective, it was like, "Hey, if you're 195 or 194 to 184, that's a little different." But I'm looking at it, man. That's a lot of weight that you got to take off your body from September 1, say, to October 1, and does that not affect you? When you then have to go on the mat because you have to acclimate to that body
and you're making weight every single week. And
he's not wrestling South Plainfield. He's wrestling Ohio State. It's not like,
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about? Like,
Yeah,
like he and I have had, like, countless discussions about that. And he knows me. Whatever he thinks, I'm all in.
Right.
And then I hit 235. I'm like, this ain't making 84 anymore.
You were getting ready for a heavyweight there at that point, but and I think that's why he ultimately landed at 197.
He got
because,
so much stronger though.
Yeah, because he really the reality was he just couldn't get back to that 184 at that point.
It just wasn't feasible anymore, and it was just the right move to go up, and I was able to wrestle better because I wasn't focused on cutting weight every single day.
Listen too much with his dad, that guy.
Well, we had that conversation.
We could talk a whole nother conversation about my dad.
Is a beast. And I'll say it every day of the week.
I love this orange jumpsuit that he trained in. His overalls. But I said that to John too. I said, one of the messages, and I remember we were out at Oak Glen Park, if I'm not mistaken. It was you, me, and Aldo. We were out on that field training that one summer afternoon, and Alejandro Santiago, who's from the Woodbridge area as well, but he was more football as opposed to wrestling. Yeah. but two individuals very much the same. They loved working out. They loved wearing the shorts that came above their quads so they could look at them. Training shirtless, which was great, fine for them. But, the message I said to both of them was that, hey, you know what? You've got the rest of your life to lift heavy if you want to.
Sure.
But, in this, where you find yourself in this moment, you only got a couple of more years in the sports that you're competing at. Just keep that in mind, as you're going forward, because you can balloon up to whatever you want and have muscles on top of muscles if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But you've only got, at that point, 2 or 3 years left of competing at your respective college levels.
You use the word like 2 or 3 times there, compete. That's like it's not his problem. It's what one of his gifts was, is that even when he's lifting, he's competing.
Yes.
Like, he knows what he did the day before. I could do better than that.
Well, he also didn't go to a regular gym. He went to a gym that was full of people that were,
I have a prime example, though.
You had to walk in there with an armed guard when you went to that place.
Talking about that.
In high school, coach he would bench 225, and I was like, I gotta get there. I could never get to his 225 mark, like of the reps.
Yeah, but you
One
could
day I got
squat 1,000 pounds like as if it was nothing. So I mean, that's besides the point.
You remind me a lot of my brother Joe, where like one day he was like a kid, and then the next day like he wasn't a kid anymore. He was powerful, and like I go, okay. And the same with him. I go, yeah, I'm not wrestling with you anymore because you're way too strong.
I'd like to touch on something, Coach. It's wrestling you don't have teammates in that moment. Mm-hmm. In baseball, if you're, you make a bad pitch, your defense can bail you out. In football, if you miss a block, maybe somebody can chip someone and help you out.
Sure. On
the wrestling mat, you make a mistake, you're exposed. So there's a huge mental side to the sport. Does Colonia, do you guys have a program or anything in place that helps your wrestlers from the mental side of the sport?
Well, I would say so. A lot of times, like, I have a bunch of guys in the corner, like, during a match. A lot of times it's me when they leave the mat, like, whether it be, like, a match that, like, say they were in the districts or the regions and it ended their season. A lot of times I'll take time with that kid and say, listen, this is what the positives, this is what the negatives were. Hopefully they're not a senior. Let's build on that. And, move on. But like a day-to-day match, you could pick apart their match as soon as you come off the mat. I don't really find that. I find putting them together back as a kid is probably more helpful than telling them what, well, why would you do this and blah, blah. Like, there's guys that do that, and they're not bad coaches. They're trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do. Adding to the loss that, say, your friends, your girlfriend, your parents just watched you have, I'm not going to add to that misery by saying, well, why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? I like to say to them, listen, this is what you try to, like, you could squeeze positive out of anything. Mm-hmm. Listen, we didn't beat this guy this time. Maybe we'll have you'll have another shot to see him in the counties. Let's get back to find out what we did wrong here, and then fix it. And then the next time we face that guy, we got a better shot at beating.
Right.
100%.
Or at Colonia, we kind of call ourselves a family. These kids get tight. They get tight and they become friendly. A lot of times, if I see a kid doing that already, with his friend or saying, "Hey, listen, man, we'll get him next time," blah blah blah. Even better.
Right.
I'd rather a kid take that, and I'm still going to talk to the kid at the end and make the points that the kid left behind, but I'm not going to pound him down. It's not why I got into this. I got into this part of this has to be fun at the end of the day. It's an extracurricular activity. And, part of it, as far as, like, getting better, that's what was fun. Like, when I wrestled, I wasn't a great wrestler. But I felt like through my years doing it, like, I would get a little bit better as it went. That's the fun part, where you're like, I couldn't do that last year. maybe this year, I'll advance a little further. But like the fact that I'm coaching wrestling this long is hysterical. Like when I first got into it, I knew about wrestling, but I didn't know like as far as like, and it's all experience. As far as like what I know now and like what I know then, I'm like, man, there's so much that I was leaving out back then that I really wish I wish that guy could talk to that guy and tell him like, hey, you left this, and this out, and be as negative as you want because we got to get this stuff.
No, and listening to you say that, Coach, it reflects very much on what I've been doing since 2011.
Sure.
Is that, when I think about where I see myself today in 2025 to the person who was in 2011, I almost like want to go back and apologize to those athletes I was working with, but I was doing what I felt was the right thing then. But I fast forward 14 years and I'm like, I'm and that's progress. That's definitely progress because I'm certainly not the same person today with the athletes I work with that I was when I first started. You're right. Like you would like to go back and just like smack yourself on the head and say, "Hey, do this instead of that." But
like
you can't.
Even back then, that was a different time period.
Yeah, it was.
It was 2001 when I started.
Right.
Or actually 2000 when I started coaching wrestling. Like right out of college, fiery, cursing way too much because I didn't have the knowledge to say, "Hey, you could express that a different way and not."
Right.
Even now, like when if curses slip out. Even now, I'm like, you didn't have to say that. Like, you could have said that. What are we doing here?
Right.
You love that. What are we doing?
Yes, one of my favorite lines for him.
I'll have to remember that when we're having these meetings about the podcast. What are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
When the topic gets too far strayed, hey, what are we doing?
Dude, what's happening?
Come on. Get back to focus.
Help me over here, dude.
So the Grasso name has been a staple within the Colonia community. How has the town supported the wrestling program and everything that the Grasso family does for the community?
It's a great question. A long time ago, my grandfather said to all of us, listen, do whatever you want in your life and whatever. Just don't spoil the name. And I think my father took that and ran with it. His 40-year career, coaching football at Abraham Clark, Roselle. And he was such a great, and still is, such a great role model to me on how to, when we were kids, like we'd go places and like he'd see kids that he coached and they'd ran, "Coach, so great to see you." And you're like, what? Like you look around, you're like, what is going on here? Like, why is my father so popular? And it would just be his old players like coming up to him, and I'm like, man, that looks pretty good. And it's gone through my whole family. Like my brother who's now the athletic director at Colonia, me and him coached together for, I'm going to get the years wrong and he's going to yell at me later. We coached together for 14 years. And when he became a head coach at Roselle, it was, where my dad coached. Like it was like it kind of brought everything together. Like we're back to where when we were kids, like we'd watch our father every Saturday go out there and essentially try to outwit the guy across the field from him. And he always did it with, he like any coach, there was curses in there, and he's got a great whistle. Like without he got a great whistle right out of his own mouth. And like even my brother Joe, like we worked together. Like he was my assistant coach for 9 years, also in education. My brother also in education. My mom in education. And it just all seemed like that. That's what like in my head I'm like that. I want to do that. Like I want to affect change in like a kid, like I want to make a kid better. Going back to what we originally said, I want to make a kid better every day. Like I want to do like it just like art, like, and at the same time, like as you said, like the name is so like whatever synonymous in Colonia. It all starts with him and like how he, like we just him leading the way. Like that's how we learned how to be athletes. How we learned how to be men.
It's about how you carry yourself.
We learned how to be good fathers. It's just what it was, and like how he leads his life still is that's how we do it.
Yeah.
I want to just touch on a topic that is very popular on our show, and that's recruiting. And so you have a unique perspective because you're in high school, obviously.
Sure.
And the rules have certainly changed. They seem to change every day, it appears. But how do you approach your athletes, both in football and in wrestling, with advice you give them on the recruiting process?
Well, there's two kinds of recruiting processes. If you're talking about recruiting where people are coming to recruit my kids that I'm already coaching to leave high school and go to a different high school, or
To college.
To college.
To college, yes.
You want to find in recruiting or in anything, you want to find the best fit. Okay. His recruiting was 0 because he had made his decision way before any of that on where he was going to go. He loved
Right.
Rutgers. And that's fine. But like in wrestling, how good you have to be to get recruited like that is rare. It's not rare at parochial schools and things like that, but it's rare in like a public school where the best of the best are going, and you don't want to tell the kids that, but like at the same time, like you could wrestle in college.
Yeah.
Okay, there's tons of opportunity for you to wrestle in college. How's the fit? Like, how's the coach? Is the coach a good man? Is he a bad man? How's the team? Are they all in, or are they? Is this a rec sport to them?
Yeah. Are you going to be staying home, or are you going to go to the Midwest somewhere? There's a million different. Yeah.
You in that Midwest.
I don't like the Midwest. Sorry.
You don't dress like it.
No. I'm in flip flops today. Come on.
Unless when he's down in Wildwood at his country music festival.
I'll leave that alone.
Sorry, go ahead.
I've seen some outfits you've worn down there. It's made me a head scratcher for me
As
too.
I said, I'll leave that one alone.
I like country music.
I'm nothing
I don't
against
like
that.
We know you like country music,
Not
but
the way
you're
you
not
dress
performing
sometimes.
it.
If they need me to go up there, I'll go up there and sing.
You're a guitar away from being on stage. I can tell you sometimes. We'll come back to this real quick. I want to kind of double back to the girls wrestling here for a moment.
Sure.
Very popular. Where do you see the girls side of wrestling, say, in the next 5 years?
I think it's going to get as close to boys wrestling as it grows in popularity. There's a lot of college scholarships out there for girls wrestling.
Right.
Parents see that and they have a different opinion of, maybe my daughter should get involved in this.
Has the perception of that sport changed?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, we started with the girls' counties years ago, and it's growing in popularity. I felt like when they got the state tournament, there was a boom of girls participating at a high level too. Like some of those matches in the girls in the state tournament, are top quality matches.
Yes.
The problem is that it's not like boys where in the rec part of it where like you'll get like middle of the road wrestlers, better wrestlers, good wrestlers. You're not getting as many girls in the rec part of it. They're kind of entering in high school, and then like it's okay. Now we got to start teaching them from here,
Right.
And then
They don't have that foundation coming in.
I don't. I know, but I don't.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna voice my opinion about something that like I don't know, but what I've heard is not as popular in the rec. Our county, okay, or the GMC, as the girls wrestling has exploded. We have, they have their with our all-star dinner. They have their tournaments, and we're coaching these girls at the same time, and they have their girls coaches also, who are great. And like the popularity is growing and growing. We hope it gets as big, as the boys. I mean, what's the difference? It's still coaching the same sport.
Right.
It's not whether or not girls, boys, what's the difference? But they have to wrestle girls. So in that, there's a girls coach for that co-op team. So I'm still going to, she's working in my room every day. I'm still going to the big stuff to coach her, but like there's times I have practice like when they have a dual meet. There's times I have practice when they have a tournament, and you can't be in two places at once.
No.
So I think the more it grows, the more we have to get more people involved in it, so that it's like, okay, this is the girls' room, and not separate them, but like if they're gonna have to wrestle only girls, okay, it's better to compete at the level that they're at. I hope for the girls that it's as big as our current GMC tournament, our current state tournament,
Right.
And like it's like it'll be an afterthought of how it used to be. Like hopefully in the next 5 years it'll be like no, the girls regions is the girls districts is and like no, yeah, that's how it used to be. This is how it is now.
Right.
That's what you would hope.
It's evolved.
Yeah.
I love the GMC tournament. That was one of my favorites.
Sure.
So eventually, when the day you do step away from coaching, how do you want people to remember you at your time at Colonia?
That's a tough question. Because there's going to be kids, and like what he was saying earlier, there's going to be kids who I coached when I was younger that are like think differently of the person that I am now. I hope, like at the end of the day, like that my wrestlers, the ones who knew me, the ones who wrestled for me, I don't really like what other people think that are outside. I don't really care. I care about what those kids who I coached think. I hope they just think that I was a good guy, and that at the end of the day, like that guy was here. That guy was here for me for more than just wrestling. Like that guy was here to help me in my regular school life. That guy was here to help me like when I needed it. And not just like the guy who taught me how to wrestle. Like I hope it ends up that like that's what they think at the end of the day. Like, yeah, he did. He was there. He did everything he could to make me this. And like I hope in that process they're like at the same time they think that guy was a good guy. That's all. I mean, if you want more than that, like you're like, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, Coach, we want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to be a part of our show. We really appreciate you coming in, sharing some stories. It was a lot of fun. But, all the best in your upcoming football season as well as in your high school wrestling season. And that
Go
is...
Patriots.
Yes.
C-Town.
That is a wrap on episode 34 of Destination Talk with Paz and Harry, along with the John Paz roast that we did not know was going to occur in this episode.
Me neither. What are we doing?
But we thank you again for being a part of our show, and until we see you next time.